Today on Nerd and Normal, Anthropic's Claude being used by Australian government, then leaking their source code, and which AI is right for you.
Welcome to Nerd and Normal with Matthew and Gareth, opening your mind to the world of technology. So let's get started.
Matthew, here we are.
Another week, another lot of technology, Gareth. Today, AI.
Yes, AI extraordinaire. Now, I've got to say, the current government of Australia, looks like it's going to be the current government forever, has signed a new collaborative memorandum of understanding, or whatever, with Anthropic to build on the national plan, the national AI plan. Now, why does our government have a national AI plan, and what does it do?
It pretty much gives our country, our government, a chance to actually be involved with the creation, the evolution, the building of an AI system that works in Australia's best interests. And I've got to say, as somebody who's been working with AIs now for quite some time, their choice is probably the best option of the bunch.
Okay, firstly and foremostly, Anthropic. You know the genesis of that word?
No, I don't.
It's an ancient Greek word, and being of Greek extraction, I can tell you with authority, Anthropikos. Anthropikos is the original word, and you know what it means?
I'm going to guess old people came from here.
No, we didn't all get born and originate in Greece. It means human or a man. And I find it quite ironic that they've chosen a word that means human and man, and it's an AI. It's beyond belief. Anyway, so this is what I don't understand. People keep on talking how you can make money out of AI. How do you make money out of AI?
At this stage, you can't. At this stage, unfortunately, it's just absorbing money left, right, and centre and getting nothing out of it. What the idea will be is when businesses actually pay for the services. So if you want to sign up for an AI service to use one yourself, you can sign up for XAI's Geok, you can sign up for Claude from Anthropic, you can sign up for Gemini from Google, you can sign up for OpenAI's ChatGPT. You can pay a yearly subscription for those things and get some benefit out of it, but you're not the target audience. There are two target audiences that these AIs want to do. One of them is businesses. They want to sell access to these services at an ongoing price. And it's not cheap either to use these services if you're a business. The second one they're going to focus on very soon is advertising. They're going to start injecting, some of the providers are going to start injecting ads into your Google or your OpenAI results in your AI services.
So, in other words, like now I have Prime on my television and Netflix on my television, and they're coming up with ads. So if I use any one of these AI, me personally, or a business like a BHP, use any one of these AI services that currently exist, if they then say to Coca-Cola, all right, you pay us for an ad, we'll do the ad and we'll inject it into AI. Is that what you mean?
That's a problem. And you won't know whether the results you're getting from these AIs when you ask them questions are ad-supported answers, or they're actually just going to be answers that these things have created out of their way they work, because the ads will be so ingrained into the answers they give.
And again, how does the individual like me make money out of AI?
You don't. Unfortunately, AI is a money pit. The idea being that if you want to support a certain AI and make sure it has a regular income, you can subscribe to these services and give them a bit of your hard-earned money and say, here, I want to subscribe to you and get more features and give you some money. But as an individual, you will never make money out of AI unless you want to go off and do social media slop AI creation of videos and content. That's when you can make your money.
So AI is making its money, the various AI companies are making their money from me because they've conned me or tricked me into paying for a year's subscription. Is that pretty much right?
That's a very small percentage of their money. Their money mostly comes from large businesses or very rich individuals who are putting money into these services in the hope that these AIs eventually will actually be intelligent. At this stage, they're not.
All right, let's go back to the memorandum of understanding between Anthropic and the Australian government. What is the Australian government going to use it for? How is it going to benefit the Australian government?
At this stage, I don't see really any major benefit at all for the Australian government, apart from to put their foot into the door of AI, to have some say into how the database absorbs data and where the data can then be used legitimately within a government organisation. But again, this gets rid of a whole lot of staff. People seem to forget it's all well and good to have these databases people can access and ask questions of, but you're getting rid of staff at the front line that can't go and work anywhere else.
So be general and simple. What does Anthropic actually do? What is their daily routine?
At this stage, it honestly, right now, it is getting their database to be expanded upon, to make it bigger and make it able to have more information, and to build on their business model to make it so at some stage they can make a profit, and also to have their system able to be used by multiple people at the one time. The more user base they have, the more advertising revenue they can have when it's time for advertising revenue to come in. Their business model day-to-day right now is focusing on that rather than the actual creation of software. Their AI software itself is building its own versions, literally working on itself now.
So it's AI working on AI.
It is. It is slowly. It's slowly increasing the amount of features it can do inside of itself. And there are actually, I've been using these AIs for a little while, and I've had a bit of a play around with Anthropic's Claude. And when it writes a program for you, it actually leaves little notes to itself in its program. That way, it can say this feature is for this purpose, and it makes it easy for it to look at things and work out how programs should be written again.
Now, you keep on mentioning Claude. First and foremost, it's important to say that two people actually created Claude almost by accident, and they were Dario and Daniela Amodi, and they're worth billions of dollars now. So they've created this thing which Anthropic now use, Claude. And you've got Claude Opus, you've got Claude Sonnet, you've got Claude Haiku, etc., etc. That's all confusing to me. It's all different things. But what does Claude do? What is it?
So Claude is the program that gives you access to the Anthropic system. So I'll go through those three. So Claude Haiku is the dumbest of the three databases. It's the quickest to respond to things, but also gives you the least intelligent answers. These things aren't very intelligent in the first place. Claude Sonnet is the middle of the road one. It's the one that does enough work for most people to survive with. Claude Opus you pay for, and this one has the huge access to the massive database of information. It takes slower to reply to your questions, but its results are usually more correct or they're better worded results.
I've been, I don't use it very often, but I have used ChatGPT, and when I ask it a question, it gives me an answer, and then I always check the answer to make sure it's correct. But so I've been used to using ChatGPT, and you've more or less convinced me, given you're the nerd and I'm not, you've more or less convinced me that Gemini is perhaps wider and more reliable. And now along comes Claude. I can't use them all. I'm not unlike you. You're the nerd. You test them all. I can only use one. Which are you advising is the most reliable?
So it depends on your purposes. For most people, they want correct information with a wide-reaching search system. So the Gemini system from Google is the main one to look for. If you're looking for research purposes only, Gemini is the one to look at because it has access to the full Google database of websites. It can do everything and search everywhere you want, try and check on the internet. So for research purposes, it's Gemini. For individual use, and especially children under supervision, Claude is the one to look at. So Claude
they're not going to be allowed between up to the age of 16. They won't be allowed to look at it.
Unfortunately, they can. At schools, they actually do already look at AIs in the classroom. So in the case of children under the age of 18 should only use Claude under supervision, because while it's pretty good at keeping people safe with the answers that it gives, and also the responses it gives to emotional questions and questions regarding personal information, it is not perfect. And then if you want an AI that's going to do pretty much without censorship, without limitations, and the most up-to-date social media presence, you're then looking at xAI's Geok, which is owned by Elon Musk. And at the bottom of the ladder, with all of the ones that I've tested and for their abilities and functionality, is OpenAI's ChatGPT.
Okay, so why did the federal government go with Anthropic and not go with Gemini or Elon Musk's one or the other one? Why have they gone for something that isn't as expansive as Gemini?
It would be down to the fact that it is more enclosed and more controlled than the other AIs are. And it's one that the actual company in charge of it is saying, we're going to do things the right way. And so far, in my experience testing all of them, the Anthropic way of doing things in terms of business models and functionality and presence of mind as an organization actually do follow along with what they're saying they're going to do.
Hasn't Anthropic recently, and I think they've even changed it, they've recently introduced a copyright takedown to scrub the Claude Code leak? And what is the Claude Code leak?
So first up, there are different features in Claude. You have the main Claude search, the main chat feature. Then there's this Claude Code section, which is where you can actually get the Claude app on your phone or computer to actually make programs and websites for you. And what happened, actually, rather than me tell you, why would Claude himself tell you what actually happened just last week when it comes to the situation that Anthropic actually had?
So, well, you're going to actually... We're now going to hear from Claude, the AI Claude. We're not hearing from a person. We're hearing from an AI thing.
We'll actually have Claude itself, the AI, explain what happened with Anthropic and their leak.
Imagine accidentally emailing your company's entire internal strategy document to the whole world. That's essentially what Anthropic did last week. Anthropic makes Claude, one of the most popular AI assistants around, and their coding tool, Claude Code, is making them billions. But on March 31st, a simple human error during a routine update meant their entire internal recipe book got published to the internet by mistake. Within hours, millions of people had seen it. Developers everywhere were downloading and picking it apart. No customer data was exposed. This was purely Anthropic's own blueprints handed to the public. And those blueprints revealed some juicy stuff. Unreleased features, upcoming AI models, and an undercover mode where Claude secretly contributes to public software projects without revealing it's made by Anthropic. Anthropic scrambled to remove thousands of copies from the internet, and in their rush, accidentally took down a bunch of sites that had nothing to do with the leak. The real damage? Competitors at Google, OpenAI, and others can now see exactly how their product works. Years of research essentially handed over for free.
So there you have the AI actually explaining how the AI code actually got released to the internet.
So does that mean the memorandum of understanding between the government and Anthropic is now based on sand, not rock?
No, well, the benefit is for the government is this is the actual how the program was written for the Claude system to actually write other programs. So it's not anything to do with the database or the customers or anything else. It's purely just information on how the program is able to write programs has now been released.
So that makes Anthropic worthless because everyone can do the same thing?
It does reduce their value considerably because that's one of the main features they have is literally the ability for Claude to actually make programs and how it can do it the way it does it.
So, therefore, where are we?
So I can't see Anthropic disappearing off the face of the earth. People have said, why don't you make the Anthropic Claude base open to the public anyway? Why don't you make it open source? And they've always said, no, we don't want to do it because we can't guarantee the security of our features. They have now done that with at least that part of themselves. So what they plan not to do, they've done only one functionality of it. The database itself and how the AI works, they haven't released, just how it makes programs.
So am I able to download Claude and use it instead of ChatGPT, or is that now not possible?
No, you definitely still can. If you're a person who writes programs using Claude, I wouldn't recommend it for the time being, but I don't write programs with Claude, so nor do you, I don't think. But if you want to use Claude to find if Gemini is telling the truth or not with its answers, it is still perfectly fine and safe to do that.
Now, there's a litany of AI companies, obviously, and you've mentioned some of them. I'm not going to ask you to repeat them. Maybe you can put them in the information below. But let's take a few silly questions. Is Anthropic as good, better, or worse than ChatGPT?
So Anthropic, their business model is a better business model than the OpenAI business model in terms of security of data and information being correct and the way that the AI actually works with individuals. The business model there is better with Anthropic than it is with OpenAI. Out of all the AI companies, Anthropic has the most community-focused business model than all of them.
Which, and I know you've partly answered this already, but let me ask it again because I'm selfish. Which AI group is the best for me, the individual, to do research through, in your opinion?
The best for you to do research is definitely Gemini, Google's Gemini, purely because of the fact that it has access to all the websites that Google knows. Gemini can access them relatively quickly. Is it a quick system? No, because it's got to go through a massive database. But it has the quickest search results with the largest number of websites to check very, very quickly and easily.
And is there a reliable site that you can copy and paste someone's document into that will tell you whether it is or isn't AI?
There is not. In all the tests I've done for all the AI checking services, I've written factual pieces, I've written stories, I've made AIs do the same thing. It's never perfect. They just do not work. It comes down to, it looks for patterns in the words, because the way AIs work is when you ask your question, the very first word it gives to you is weighted off the question you have, but it's random. And then every word after that, it creates the response after that.
I did a silly thing the other day, which I'm not going to tell you with which AI company. I typed in, "What a piece of work is man, how noble is reason." It's a direct quote from William Shakespeare's Hamlet. And I then went to the Google and typed in AI detectors, and two of the five of them said AI generated. Now, are we saying that William Shakespeare had an AI device back in the 1600s?
No, what we're saying is the pattern of the English language is such a well-known situation for AIs now that it looks at them and says, this is a pattern. These words don't often go together, but they're together here, which matches the pattern, which means it's got to be AI created.
That just goes to show how good Shakespeare was. He was ahead of his time. He should have patented AI.
Either him or Da Vinci should have. One of those two should have done it. It'd be fine.
Yeah. Who was the greatest scientist to ever live? Who would you pick and why?
I don't often know that, but honestly, with the results we've had over the last 100 years, Albert Einstein.
Yeah, or maybe Newton, who theory of gravity, theory of whatever, developed calculus, developed a whole range of things, and he did it all before he was 26.
Yeah, but they're all theories. They're not proofs.
Yeah, no, okay. I don't think E equals MC squared is verifiable either. So I suppose the final question is, what is so special, given that the federal government has taken it, what is so special about Anthropic?
Purely just down to the fact that they actually have a conscience for the time being. For the time being. That can all change as they want to get more revenue coming in, especially now with their main functionality of getting money in was going to be the ability to make programs. That's now on the internet. So for me, it comes down to still, as long as their business stays the way it is and focuses on the community and making sure people are looked after the right way with the AIs, they're still the one to look for and the one to actually do the right stuff, as opposed to the other ones who focus on giving answers quickly, not always correctly.
Okay, well, please like or subscribe or comment to what we've been saying, and just know that Matthew and I are both honest and reliable, so we're the best possible AI group you can get access to on podcasting.
Artificial
Thank you, mate.
and intelligence. We'll see you next week. I've got a bit.
You're the artificial, I'm the intelligent. Bye.
See ya.